Tackle football, commonly known as American football, is a sport with a rich and complex history that reflects broader social, economic, and cultural trends. Its development from a rough, unstructured pastime to a highly organized and commercialized sport mirrors the evolution of American society itself. This essay will trace the origins of tackle football, its formalization in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the rise of professional leagues, and its eventual dominance in American culture. Origins and early development. Tackle football's origins can be traced back to various forms of folk football played in Europe, particularly in England. These early games were often violent and chaotic, with few rules, and were played between neighboring towns and villages. The objective was typically to move a ball to a designated area by any means necessary, often leading to physical confrontations. As these games spread to the American colonies, they began to evolve into something distinct. In the mid-19th century, two forms of football began to emerge on American college campuses, one influenced by soccer, or association football, and another by rugby. Rugby, with its emphasis on carrying the ball and tackling, would have the most significant influence on the development of American football. By the 1860s, these early versions of football were being played at colleges like Princeton, Rutgers, and Harvard. The game was rough and lacked standardized rules, leading to frequent injuries and occasional fatalities. Formalization and the birth of American football. The turning point for the sport came in 1869 when Rutgers and Princeton played the first intercollegiate football game. Although this game more closely resembled soccer, it set the stage for future developments. Over the next few years, as different schools played against each other, there was a growing need for a standardized set of rules. This need was partly met by the Boston game, a hybrid of soccer and rugby played by Harvard students, which allowed players to carry the ball. In 1876, representatives from Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and Columbia met to create the Intercollegiate Football Association, IFA. The IFA adopted many rugby rules, including the concept of tackling to stop play. However, the rules continued to evolve. The most significant figure in this process was Walter Camp, often called the father of American football. A former player and coach at Yale, Camp introduced key innovations such as the line of scrimmage, the snap from center to quarterback, and the system of downs, which began to differentiate American football from rugby and soccer. The rise of professional football. While college football gained popularity in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, professional football was slow to develop. The first known professional player was William Pudge Heffelfinger, who was paid $500 to play for the Allegheny Athletic Association in 1892. However, the sport remained largely amateur for several more decades. The formation of the National Football League, NFL, in 1920 marked the beginning of professional football as we know it today. Initially, the league was a loose association of teams from small and medium-sized towns in the Midwest. Over the next few decades, the NFL grew slowly, hampered by the Great Depression and World War II. It wasn't until the 1950s, with the advent of television, that professional football began to rival college football in popularity. Modern era and cultural dominance. The 1958 NFL championship game between the Baltimore Colts and the New York Giants is often cited as the moment when professional football captured the American imagination. The game, which went into sudden death overtime, was broadcast nationwide and is still referred to as the greatest game ever played. It showcased the drama and excitement of the sport, helping to propel the NFL into the forefront of American sports. In the following decades, the NFL continued to grow in popularity, eventually surpassing baseball as America's most popular sport. The Super Bowl, first played in 1967, became a national spectacle, drawing millions of viewers and becoming a cultural phenomenon. The NFL's merger with the American Football League, AFL, in 1970 further consolidated its dominance. Conclusion. The history of tackle football is a story of evolution and adaptation. From its chaotic and violent origins in folk football to its modern status as a multi-billion-dollar industry, the sport has continually changed to meet the demands of players, fans, and society. Its rise to prominence reflects broader trends in American culture, including the commercialization of sports, the power of television, and the nation's appetite for competition and spectacle. Today, tackle football is not just a game. It is a central part of American identity, with deep roots in the country's history and a profound influence on its culture.